Carla, thank you so much for being here. And so I guess, the whole intention of this campaign is to be able to help out a lot more people who are survivors of brain injury, whether traumatic or acquired brain injury. I know that a lot more people are not really getting the services or even the attention or medical attention that they need, especially if they're high level and it seems like nothing's wrong with them. So that's one part. But also, they also have limited funding after an inpatient stay. But a lot of the people who have suffered from a brain injury really do require, continuous care or intermittent care, at least follow up every year. So I think that survivors who are, like who have gone through or going through the healing, I think is very helpful for your voices to be heard. And I know that it's only going to help out more people build awareness and build strategies for themselves to be able to heal. So, Carla, again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here, and what you're doing and your mission and your company is really beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Carla. Yes, I've been a neurotherapist for 30 years, believe it or not. I usually don't like to say it
You
because
don't
it feels
even look like you've been
because
practicing
it
that long.
conveys
I had to
age,
click
right?
in my brain, like, did she say?
Yeah, so this is how it wasn't something that I planned to specialize in. I think it's just the universe just kind of carved out that path, and it just kept, I just kept going on it. So, but we're here to learn from you, and I wanted to know if you want to share a little bit about the nature of your injury, the extent of your healing, and we can get started from there.
Yeah, so the first encounter with injury that I can look back in really started in 2014, and when I had the mild stroke with I didn't know I was pregnant with my son. Actually, it was like 2.5 months in that I actually found out I was pregnant, but I had just conceived him at that time. I think my body went through a shock because prior to that, I had a few miscarriages. After my daughter's 13 now, so and my son just turned 7, so it was a huge gap between them, and I had a few miscarriages and stuff like that. And so I had did like a cleanse prior to me conceiving my son, and I didn't even realize, that, like I said, that I was even pregnant. And so I had a TIA and did all kinds of tests and stuff after that. But thank God for a really amazing high risk doctor, OBGYN, a perinatologist, who really helped me with the journey of discovering all the different things, right? That I had a blood clotting disorder that might have played a part in the TIA. And then I was doing fine after that. I mean, during the pregnancy, obviously with blood thinners and everything, I know with medication, I am really sensitive. I have so many allergies to medication. It's crazy. Even allergy. And it's so funny now that I look back, kind of linking it together. When I did a cleanse with my son, before I got pregnant with my son, I was taking all these vanilla protein based stuff. And after I got pregnant and gave birth to my son, I started gaining allergies. And one of my allergies is actually vanilla. Now, after, like, I went to the allergist and everything, vanilla and crab, and I was like, what in the world out of all everything
Yeah.
else? You know what I mean? Like, what is
I've
that?
never even heard of allergy from vanilla. You
Isn't
know,
that the craziest
yeah.
thing? I know, but now that I'm trying to, like, it's almost like I think through this journey, I feel like I've gained like a PhD of some sort, right? Because you start learning so much about your
Right.
body, all the different parts of, your brain, your spine, and everything like that, and seeing gazillion specialists, I feel like, because they're all just interrelated, but at the same time in awe of our body and how interrelated it is, and just how an injury like with from your in your brain can really affect so many
Mhm.
things.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I'm really looking at it as when you start gaining awareness is really, to me, is very that's a positive side that I look at it, is that I'm gaining so much awareness about my body and really how to take care of it and what I really need to do so I can keep, healing, and
Mhm.
so that I can be present for my family and everything. But in 2018, it was my main stroke that I had. I was my daughter, which is 9 months old, my youngest,
Mhm.
and so I was dealing actually with a lot of postpartum stuff and actually antepartum. So I kind of had antepartum anxiety. So during pregnancy with my youngest daughter, um, I had a lot of anxiety, and I've never felt that in my other pregnancies. And it was like really weird, anxious and also a little depressed, but it
Mhm.
was during pregnancy. And then, so I felt like my body just went through some really crazy changes that
Mhm.
year,
Mhm.
and the emotional stress. And I've actually found that because I've had a few seizures just
Oh,
recently,
wow.
and that emotional stress really triggers me more than anything.
Oh,
um you know
I have to tell you, I've treated probably thousands of survivors, and especially now that we work in a home and community setting, I kid you not, stress, and I know that we don't, it's not necessarily something that was caused by a brain injury, but it can be caused by a multitude of things, right? And how we perceive it. But stress definitely affects a lot of, the functioning, from sleep to, the pain. It aggravates pain. So you're absolutely right. And it increases your anxiety. So I get what you're saying.
yes. Yeah, and I really feel like that was like a trigger during that time, and as I was like journaling and just kind of looking back about what happened to me, in 2018. It was really, I not only as a new mom, hardly sleeping. So first of all, for women especially, we need that sleep, right?
Mhm.
The sleep in our brain. I think I read it in a study that women need more sleep than men, and that we just really need like our brains, right?
Right.
But we're not, obviously, because we are, and then when my daughter was born, I mean, just she actually, out of all my kids, has been the one that has given me the most difficult time in the sleeping department. Um, but that really, I know, triggers obviously lack of sleep,
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
brain activity, right? It's not, I don't feel like I'm intact. Obviously,
Yeah.
anybody who doesn't get enough sleep gets grouchy or whatever. But I'm not saying that in that sense, but your brain, you're just not in full capacity when you're not
Right.
sleeping well. And then you add emotional stress and postpartum. Really, nobody really talks about that too,
Right.
about postpartum. And what happens, there's just so many changes. And I feel like my body just has been through so much, right?
Mhm.
In such a short, because, it took a while for my oldest daughter to my son. She's 13. He just turned 7. But my son is 7, and my daughter is like 4.5 right now. So they're closer in age, right? So my body just went through, I think, a lot.
Yeah, that is a
Just
lot of
a
stress
couple
on
of
your body.
years. You know what I mean? So I know that it just, so many things. There were so many layers to it and what caused that, right? But it was so weird because the way my symptoms started actually was washing dishes. I was washing dishes, and then my wrist just started hurting so much, and I'm thinking, okay, carpal tunnel, what is this, right? So
Mhm.
got a, you know, can't even think about what, but one of those wrist guards,
Right.
and that was it. But it just wouldn't like stop, like the weakness and everything. And I was like, I think I need to go into just urgent care or something.
Did
Just
that happen for several days, or is it just that
Yes, it
day?
happened for like a week, and I was just thinking, okay, what is this? You know, I was nursing, my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So, with us, I found out through a DNA sample that I have like low vitamin D deficiency, right? So all those factors really just adds up, right, to the
Right.
different layers of that final trigger, I guess. So
Right.
um so yeah, so I was like, okay, what is this? So I went to an urgent care. It's kind of like emergency place, and they were like, you know what, I think it's paresthesia, but I think you need to see a neurologist, so you should go see
Mhm.
your primary care doctor. So then that's what I did. I left there, called my primary care doctor. They had an appointment 2 days later, which I did, and it was the craziest thing is that I live in Las Vegas, so I don't know if you've ever been here in Charleston Boulevard, which is one of the oldest streets in
Mhm.
Las Vegas. And so I'm driving down Charleston, going to my doctor's appointment, and I started feeling just numb in my
Right.
left side. And my sister was trying to FaceTime me, and she's like, "Your face is not moving." And I was like, "Please just let me," in my brain, like, God, let me just get to my, because I could feel it, just started to feel the numbness. And so I'm
Right.
finally able to park my car. Um, thank God. I think if it was just 2 minutes later that I got to my doctor's, I would have been on the street. So
Right.
I'm so thankful that that didn't happen. But what's beautiful is that when I went to my doctor's, I wrote my name, sat down, and when he called me, they had to call the ambulance because I just wasn't responding.
So when you felt that paralysis on your face, did that immediately trigger, hey, I'm having a stroke?
Yes, I felt like, okay, something, to me, more like, okay, something is wrong here, because
Mhm.
it was pretty much trickling down from here, and then it started going up on my face. And I was like, because I've experienced having a TIA before, so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what's
Oh,
happening?
okay.
So um yeah, so that was, thank God though, that day, I think God sent this nurse there, because she's never there ever. And my doctor even said that was like one of the only times she was ever
Mhm.
in her practice that day. And she
Wow.
worked with stroke patients, and she worked in the ER. She was a nurse and in the ER. So I was like, okay, I was in good hands. And so they, call the ambulance, and from there, and yeah, so it was really crazy. I had a lot of tremors after
Mhm.
that. For a long period of time. I had a lot of tremors, and I was in a, I couldn't walk, obviously my mobility was really attacked, so I couldn't really walk properly, and just my whole body was, I just looked like I had Parkinson's, but
So
like
was
totally
that
active.
something that you started developing while you were in the hospital, or was that after you were discharged from the hospital, the tremors? Is that something that came on immediately?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. I think it, no, it was actually as I was kind of, I don't know, out of the stroke. I don't know what the term would be. Um, I started having the tremors in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay. And
yeah.
then how long did you stay at the hospital for?
So this is the craziest thing, and what God answered my prayers, because I got sent to this hospital that was just not the best one at that time. So they had actually discharged me. Get this, this was crazy. They discharged me the next day, which was the weirdest thing, right? Then
Right.
the day after that, I was actually getting sworn in to get my citizenship
Mhm.
for getting naturalized.
Right.
And then I had another incident on that Saturday. I really shouldn't
Oh,
have been taken out of the hospital, because my husband just was like, I was not responsive to him at all. So my body, I had tremors the whole time. So he couldn't really tell if, is she having a seizure right now, because my
right.
body was shaking the whole time, but I wasn't responding at all to him as I'm
Right.
talking, just looking somewhere. And
Right.
so he just decided to just take me to a different hospital, and I ended up staying there for about a week.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that a lot of times when, with TIA being, something that can resolve within hours, or it could even
Hmm.
resolve in an hour, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they kind of overlook, oh, she can go home now. She looks stable. She's fine. And I think that that could be definitely a challenge too, for mild symptoms. Did you, so during that hospitalization after, the second time, did
Hmm.
you have stronger changes, like deficits?
Yes. I was still like my spine really hurt a lot, so many different MRIs after MRIs, right? I think for me it's like I don't know if it was like worse or the same. I I'm still trying to wrap my brain and remember some of those things because there are some parts I'm not fully remembering. Okay, I did switch a lot of my words.
Mm-hmm.
That started happening.
Okay.
My husband said I would call everything a system. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's the water system or that system. I just couldn't get the words out that I
Right.
wanted to express. That
So it's
was one
more
thing
of
that happened.
it's an expressive aphasia, and you were having trouble with, finding the right words as well.
Yeah. Yes, and just connecting her, it was just a bit slower. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like I could feel my brain like, nope. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, the connection wasn't happening. Right.
Yeah. So that happened a lot. That was one of the things that started happening when I was there. Um,
But is
I
that something that's still happening now sometimes?
Yes, not as bad, but there's some times where I can see the thing, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't say it. It
Right.
won't come out. Um, and but I really try to do things to like train my brain, one of the things that actually has helped me, which is the weirdest thing probably, I don't know if anybody would think I'm crazy, but there's this game on the phone. It's emoji blitz. So it's like putting things lining up together, right? It's like a Disney game, or word games or numbers like Sudoku and stuff. And I'm trying to continuously, like, it's like a brain exercise for me that I am using quite a bit.
And is that
So
for vision then?
for vision, for reaction, I want to see if my
Reaction
reaction, like
time.
with my hand reaction time, and
But my question was like for that apps that you're using, the emoji blitz. So
mm-hmm.
you're working on scanning, and then
Yeah.
also your reaction time, but also your coordination, right? Like your
Yes,
eye hand
yeah,
coordination.
coordinating.
Right.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Because my right eye, actually, right after that, they did, a few testing, and they did a VER testing. One of the factors that they look for people with MS, right? Because they're, as they're really trying to figure out what's happening with me. So my right eye got optic neuritis,
Okay.
um, but it's been amazing. I I've seen a neuro-ophthalmologist and my eyes look really good, which is kind of crazy because the optic nerve to even heal. So I'm like, thank God for that, But yeah, so I really am just trying to, like, I just want my brain to constantly be active in that sense. And then when I need to calm it down, obviously, calm down. And I think I've shared with you with virtual reality, that really helps me a lot too. And to travel like I'm in a different place, like I'm in the ocean, because nature is really part of my,
Right.
it's so therapeutic and it helps me so much. Um, so I always transport myself in the islands or in the mountains or
Right.
wherever.
And I agree, actually, based on the interpersonal neurobiology, that when you start going, like when you're actually out in spaces, it opens up your brain, and it also opens you up for more learning because it de-stresses the brain. It also allows you to remember more things. So those are some of the, strategies or activities that, I would hope that everyone is incorporating. If you cannot go outside, there's, such a thing as virtual reality, or you can even put up look at pictures on the computer that are, more expansive and open, or even on your TV. And that's why in the hospital setting they also start putting in or kind of incorporating more of the greeneries or the outdoors, whether it's up on the ceiling. Some hospitals have actually done that.